Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, and pleased to be joined by Tyler Dane of who's a motorsports photographer. Yeah, we've had a lot out of those lately. How's it going?
Pretty good.
All right, just so for many people that do not know who you are, so kind of tell a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a motorsport photographer specializing in endurance racing. I've been shooting for about 5 years overall, but about 2 years professionally. I've done a lot of IMSA, SRO. I'm trying to get to NASCAR and F1 at some point, but my main focus is endurance racing at the moment.
Okay. So who do you shoot for? Like yourself, or do you shoot for other outlets or anything like that?
I freelance, so it could depend on the race. Sometimes it's a team. I've worked for manufacturers before as well. I haven't worked with sponsors a lot, but I've worked with drivers as well. So it just depends on the race and who hires me for the weekend.
Yeah, for sure. So why endurance racing?
I grew up watching endurance racing. My dad got me into it when I was a kid, and then ever since then, I've pretty much stuck with it, and it's been my love and passion since I started photographing motorsports a few years ago. So I just stuck with it, and it's been a great experience. I love it in endurance racing. I don't think I'll ever leave. I think I'll stay here for as long as I can, but I definitely love endurance racing. It's great.
Tyler, how old are you?
I'm 19. I'll be 20 in May.
Wow, and you're only 19 years old. So do you go to college or anything?
I do. I'm a student at the University of Central Florida, and then after college, I'm hoping to go full time with photography.
Yeah. So what's it like? So shooting the Rolex is obviously it's a 24-hour day. Like, how did you
Mhm.
like go through all that?
So I think a lot of people don't really realize it's not exactly just 24 hours because we get to the track about 8 or 9 hours before the race even starts to set up and take some extra garage images and any media that needs to be done right before the race. So our day can go from 24 all the way up to 36 hours without sleep. So it's tough to manage. It's hard to get up early and then stay up the entire time. I know I maybe slept an hour on a chair, but other than that, you don't really get to sleep much at these races.
Yeah, there was a photo. I think there was a photo that went around on Twitter. I think someone took a. I think you like fell asleep at like 4 a.m.
Oh yeah. I fell asleep at 4 a.m. and my buddy Richard took a photo of us knocked out for as long as we could get. It was not comfortable, but that's all you can do really at these races because there's really no time to sleep.
Yeah. So like, how do you like? I mean, I mean, just overall, I'm sure you probably caught up on sleep as you went through the week. I know, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm back to normal now. It only takes about a day or two to get rid of the exhaustion from the race, but it's a lot of work. I mean, we get there if you do the whole event. It's Wednesday to Sunday both weeks. Wednesday to Sunday for the Roar, and then Wednesday to Sunday for the Rolex. And I mean, our days on Wednesdays are pretty easy, but then as you keep going and as the on track sessions start, the days could be 12 to 14 hours of constant work, and then you're back up at 6 in the morning to get ready to do it again. So it's constantly working.
So when's your next race?
At the moment, it'll be the 12 hours of Sebring plus the 1,000 miles of Sebring in the same weekend in March. But you never know. I could have other stuff come up before then.
Yeah, of course. You plan on obviously doing the 6 hours at the Glen and then and Petit Le Mans as well.
Yeah, my goal is to do all the endurance races for IMSA this year. I did all but one last year. I did Daytona, Sebring, and Petit Le Mans last year, but I'd like to add the Glen to this year. I did a SRO at Watkins Glen a few months ago in the summer, and it's a great track. I'd love to go back for the IMSA event.
Is there like other like WEC events that you want to try to do?
I would love to go over to some of the European events. I'd love to do Spa or Le Mans at some point, but obviously those are a lot more difficult to get over to with being in the United States and all those being in Europe. So I would have to have a few high paying clients to get there, but I would definitely love to go there one day and shoot some WEC in Europe.
Yeah, you're gonna watch the 12 Hours of Bathurst this weekend.
Yes, I am. Of course. I would love to get there too. That's one of my favorite events. I have a few friends shooting that event. They went straight from Daytona to Bathurst, so I'm a little jealous of them, but that's something I want to do soon.
What is IMSA racing like, just for people that may not know?
So IMSA racing, I mean, if you know endurance racing, you'll obviously know WEC and some of the GT3 championships like SRO. DTM now is pretty much an endurance championship with them being at GT3. Essentially, it's just multi-class racing at some of the biggest tracks in the United States. The only track we go to outside of the United States is CTMP in Canada. But basically, IMSA is the WEC. It's hard to like explain. IMSA is basically WEC in the United States, but they don't go to other countries. IMSA is also regarded as pretty much equally as good, if not better, than WEC when it comes to racing and the events that they put on.
Yeah, for sure. It's always fun watching. Yeah, we had a good time watching the Rolex last week. So
Did you go in person or were you just
oh,
watching on TV?
one day I will go to the Rolex.
It's a great event. If you can go, I'd highly recommend it. One of my favorite events.
We're actually talking to Cooper McNeil on Sunday, so that'll be
Oh, there you go.
exciting. So I mean, obviously you want to go into motorsports photography, and this is what's just like, are you surprised that you're having all the success that you have right now? I mean, you're only so young. You're not even 20 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've done really well for my age, but there's still so much I could be doing. I've definitely worked hard to get where I am. I don't sit around and do nothing to get work. I go out and, I work hard when I get to racetracks, but I feel like at my age, I'm probably one of the only people that are doing this like continuously. So I'm hoping that because I started early when I was, I think 16, so when I first really started to get into this, I'm glad I started early because I think I'll be ahead when it comes to going full time soon.
Yeah, for sure. Um, what are we going to expect from, like, what's it like covering the Rolex, like Rolex 24? Because it's always, there's certain spots, there's
Mhm.
always something going on around the racetrack.
Yeah, so the Rolex 24 is interesting because Daytona is one of those tracks where you can cover it multiple times in a weekend. There's only few certain places you can go to really get the good images. So when we start shooting on Thursday of the Roar, we're really starting to get our shot list down. So all the, kind of the boring images that teams just need for, social media or anything that they use for their media purposes. And then as we go longer into the Roar, we start to get our creative images. But after the Roar, we've already covered the track maybe once or twice. Once you get to the Rolex, you're already there. You're going and you're shooting the same things over and over. So the only difficult thing I will say about Daytona is trying to find different shots to get constantly, because at some point we could cover the entire track 4 times over and it's all the same. It doesn't really change much, but we do get different lighting depending on the weather. I mean, for the Roar, we only had one sunset, and then for the Rolex, it was cloudy the entire time. So obviously things change depending on weather, but yeah, it's a very simple track to cover, but it can be a little repetitive. So it's hard to find some creativity when you have the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Tyler, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck. We'll probably talk with you sometime later in the year.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to talk after Sebring, I'd love to do that. Sebring's another great event to cover.